Hey, what's going on, guys? Global 5 here today. We're doing a deck tech video. It's been a very long time since we've done one of these, I believe, just like 6 months or something. And this video has been a long time coming. We had the deck built and was ready to go, and then Mushoku got hit on the ban list, which completely changed some of the deck choices that were being made in order to combat Mushoku. So we had to retool, retest, and do all that, and then the life nonsense. So here we are, finally getting around to doing a Dragon Maid deck tech video. What's really cool is that we also now know that this set is coming out in English. So this video can be relevant for both languages. In English, with Mushoku still unrestricted, I would make changes, obviously, as we had a Mushoku build. Now we're off that build. And yeah, so we're really excited for this. We also do want to shout out our buddy Gilgastorm. He's got singles in Japanese for this set up on his website. You can find the link in the description below. And I believe also has cases available for pre-order. If they're not available for pre-order yet, then they'll be up as soon as distributors have dates and all that other fun stuff. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and get right into the video here. And we'll start off with this, which is the plussing 0 of the deck. It's a 3500 center runner that gives all opponents' characters pay 2 encore. So this means at the beginning of the opponent's attack phase, it can move to the front row center slot. Just a really good plussing card. It can dodge bombs unless they, double lane you, and is probably the premier plussing 0 that's being printed in sets at this time. Just very good. And you always want plussing 0s, particularly ones that have some sort of evasion in the early game, so that way you can plus on board and help build up stock. The next card here is this Saikawa. It is an on-reverse Rize, and what that means is that when this card becomes reversed in battle, you can look at up to the top 3 cards of your deck and add a traded character, then discard a card from your hand. So you do have the potential to whiff on this if you reveal some climaxes or if you're playing events, but it shouldn't really happen in this deck. In this build, we're playing 2 events, so it does have a non-zero chance, but is very unlikely. The second effect on this card is super interesting and involves a Kana that we're not playing with some crazy reverse and restand things. So you can actually do double Rize. I've thought about building a deck and trying to incorporate that, but unfortunately it's like kind of too cumbersome. So you could ignore the second effect on this card. It's also one of the only red zeros we're playing, so it gives a little bit of red fix to the deck. Because unfortunately, red was sort of lacking in zeros that I wanted to play. And moving into the next card is this Kobayashi. It's a pseudo deck bond, I guess we can call it. So on play from hand, you can discard a character. If you do, you can search your deck for a character with resonance, or you can search for the Kobayashi Brainstormer specifically. This is a very synergistic card. You'll see that the Kobayashi Brainstorm has a resonance effect on another card, which we mistranslated originally in our set video. Sorry about that. Sometimes we rush translations. Here we are. But that was pointed out in the video, so thank you to that viewer for pointing it out. And yeah, so the other effect on this card is a startup effect. So during your main phase, you can discard a card, put this card into the waiting room, and if you do, you can salvage any character. So this gives you both deck access to specific cards for when you need them. I mean, brainstorms are very good, so I mean, having access to tutor that up at any point is pretty good. And then also gives you graveyard access. So it's a very good utility card. And we have it at 2 cop. We had it at 3, but I had to make cuts for some other things, so we ended up dropping it to 2, and it's been actually really fine at 2. So 2 is kind of the amount that I would recommend playing, just based on our play. The next card we have here is a Kobayashi. That is a Climax Swapper, just vanilla Climax Swapper. So on play from hand, you can pay 1, discard a Climax, and then grab a Climax. This deck is door choice, so the selection to be able to get your Climaxes through like gates doesn't exist. We're not playing the 1/1 event that tutors up Climaxes. So if you've got choices in your hand and you want the door for your level 1 combo, this is how you get it. So playing it at 1 copy, which is just like kind of the standard play rate for this type of card. And then the next one we have here is a Kana. It's a drop salvage. So on play from hand, you can pay 1, discard a card to salvage a character, and then give 1k somewhere. There is a drop searcher in the TD, I believe, that is potentially a better card to play because you do have a fair amount of graveyard access in the deck. My wife prefers Kana, so we're playing this Kana. We also were playing it for the Power Pump 1k, which I valued at the time because of Mushoku. But when she was offered the ability for a drop search or this, she picked this because of Kana. So that is something that may want to be swapped in your deck to a drop search. And here we are playing that. The next card is something that we ended up adding once we swapped a bunch of things in the deck, and that is this Ilulu. It is what's known as a Fuka, I guess, or on death Azusa for level 1 or higher. So when this card goes from stage to waiting room, you can discard a card from your hand. If you do, look it up to the top 4 cards of your deck, choose a level 1 or higher card there, and then you can add it to your hand. So this can grab events if you are playing events, such as the 1/1 event or the stock swap event, which is the one that we are playing in this deck. So it does have a little bit of added value to be able to grab cards that typically you just have to draw into naturally. The big reason we are playing this, though, is for green fixing. The best anti-change, quote-unquote, the best early play removal card is in green, unless you're splashing blue, which, unfortunately, blue had, like, no cards I wanted to play, so we just did not have access to that color. So if you're not in blue, which has a 1/1 bottom deck bomb, green is your best bet. So in order to splash green, we have this here. There's a 3/2 Taru that is an Icy Tail that you could also play. We're not playing it in this deck, but that is a perfectly valid option for green cards as well, as a also pseudo secondary finisher. But yeah, so we're playing 3 of these. We've never had issues getting green with the 5 or 6 green cards that are in the deck, so that shouldn't be too much of a worry because you don't really need the color until you hit level 2. The next card here is actually, we've come to really enjoy this card. Initially on play, I am not a huge fan of pay to salvage, pay to search, which is a new sort of profile they're printing nowadays. And so, but this one has a lot of merit, we've learned, particularly with like choices. So on play from your hand, reveal the top card of your deck. If it is level 2 or higher, you can add it to your stock. Then when it dies, you can pay 2 to search your deck. We have a decent amount of high level cards, and because of this card, we've made some decisions to have a higher level count than we particularly have in potentially other decks with like similar profiles. But getting the free stock, and then it basically pays for itself on death to then tutor up whatever you're looking for on the following turn, as well as potentially thinning your deck a little bit. So this is actually surprisingly had a lot of utility. We would potentially want a third copy if we can fit it in here. So it's definitely something that you should consider when you're building your deck. Is 3 copies is pretty good. So next card is the Kobayashi Brainstorm that we mentioned before. This card, if you have a specific 2/1 Toru in play, which we're not playing, is a global 1K. It also has an effect that says if you have 4 or more characters on the board, you can draw discard. Which, when we saw that on a brainstorm, was like, wow, that's really good. Because you don't always want to brainstorm because of your deck state, but sometimes you want to dig one more card to try to find a climax or another type of character that you're looking to play, like a finisher. How many times I've been burned by one of my other buddies who was playing the set, tapping this, drawing their choice, and then Toru burning me to death is super fun. At least 3 times. And then we have the Brainstorm effect, which is pay 1, tap this, mill 4, and then salvage any character. Which is very good. This is a very good card. Like, they also printed Akana, which is the salvage brainstorm, and because of this card, you'll just never want to play that unless you're like in Kana waifu, which my wife was like very sad about, because she wanted to play that card, but just how good this card is makes that card just not make it into decks, unfortunately. So we're mentioning the Kobayashi that can grab resonance cards or the brainstorm. This is the resonance card that you're likely going to be grabbing with that, which has the resonance effect with the brainstorm. And so if you have 4 or more characters, you can early play this at 2. And when you play it, you can reveal the Kobayashi Brainstorm from your hand. If you do, you can either A, heal 1, or B, burn 1. So this is a very flexible card. Sometimes you'll have early play heals in your hand. You'll be 2-0, and it's a dead card that you grabbed off your combo last turn, expecting the heal. So you can now put this into play. Develop a little bit of board presence. Take care of some 1/1s, maybe a 2/2. And burn your opponent and get a little bit of extra value out of it. So having that modal option is very good. This card also gains an additional 1K if you have 2 or more characters, so it's a 10K base. So it is a little small, just sitting by itself, but to get the burn and develop a little bit of presence on board definitely makes it worthwhile, particularly with like the easiest early play condition. So we're playing 4 of it because of the Toru. Just add a little extra hits to the deck. 3 is probably fine. The other thing is, with being a choice deck, you want soul triggers in your deck. So the more soul triggers you have, the more likelihood of being able to stock or add to hand when you trigger them. But yeah, that's a little out of order going from a level 0 to a level 3, but that's okay, because we're going to move here into the Kana level 1 door combo. This is potentially not the optimal play for the deck. The Toru TD level 1 is probably the optimal play, just based on a whole lot of games. But the Kana should not be discounted entirely. She can deal with standby decks as well as also gain new card advantage. So the Kana is plus 2k on your turn, so she's 6k base, with the door will be 7k, and then when the battle opponent becomes reversed, you can resolve one of the following two actions each. So you can't do them concurrently. It's very weirdly worded, and Heart of the Cards had it mistranslated at one point and said you can only pick one. So that's how weird the card order is. But when you reverse the battle opponent, you get to salvage, and you also get to level down an opponent's level 1 or higher character. So there are 2/2s. They would have to pick a level 1 or lower. And, you know, there are threes they could pick 2s, and etc., etc. So we were picking this because of the standby meta with a whole bunch of power pump. Like, I could get over Mushoku's best board with this, with the cards we were playing. But that standby meta in Japanese particularly has kind of calmed down. So it's not quite as relevant, but just being able to get the salvage, and particularly because of the next card here, I think that there is argument that the Kana is as good as the Taru TD. People don't agree with me. I don't think as like a whole, but for me, one of the main draws to the Kana combo, besides being my wife's favorite character, is this card. So on play from your hand, you can discard a character to tutor the level 1 combo from your deck to hand. So, you know, you've hit a choice, you've added some Soul Trigger 3 to your hand, you can pitch it next turn, get your combo. Very good. It's a global 5, so now your level 1 combo is sitting at 7/5 to match the 1/1s that your opponent has on the board, unless they have counter. But then the third effect is what I think really makes this card shine. You can tap this card to choose one of the level 1 combo cards, specifically, give it 1k power and 1 soul. So the 1 soul, particularly into like standby decks, is like really good. Like now you've got a 3 soul that you can side level 2s if you want. And now you're 8/5 to reverse the 1/175 standby targets. So, very good. We have it at 3 copies just because we want to see it on board at level 1 to provide the additional bonuses and, you know, tutor up your combo. But, super good card. Potentially underrated. It does clutter your back row if you're playing other cards like the Kobayashi back row saver, so do keep that in mind when you're deck building, that between this and the brainstorm, you probably don't want to be playing too many other back row cards, but that's kind of the trade-off for when you pick the combo of Kana. And yeah, so very good and very soul rushy, particularly into like first deck. The additional soul sometimes just pushes the damage where, you know, the opponent, if they're at 0/6, will end up right at 2. So, super good, very good. We love soul around here. Moving into level 2s, this Elma is the card I was referencing as potentially the best early play removal that the set has, besides the 1/1 blue card, which is in blue, which, are you playing blue? Probably not, unless you like Elma specifically, in which case you've got the Elma deck, and that's fine. But what this card is it gains 1k per character on play. So if you've got a full board, it'll be sitting at 12k. I believe it counts itself. I forgot to check the translation to be 100% sure before the video, but it should be about 12k. And then when it reverses the battle opponent, you can send that card to memory. So probably the best removal because nobody can ever get it again. So not only can it remove 2/2s, it can remove early play 3/2s, it can remove 1/1s, anything with Encore, gone. Can't they? You know, the standby deck will just lose that card, and you'll be quite happy with that, to be honest, in your 1k1 deck. So yeah, the Elma was the card that we had to fit in here for the green, and just overall super good. The next card we have here was another late addition to the deck once we removed all the power pump. So I don't even know this guy's name. Super sorry. But it's a 2k assist to level 3s in front. This will make your early play from 10k to 12k, which is, you know, actually able to combat stuff at this stage. It has another effect that says when your opponent brainstorms and puts a climax to the graveyard, you can pump 2k somewhere. So if your opponent just is brainstorming for card advantage or to mill their deck and they hit a hit on it, you know, putting a climax to graveyard, you can now pump this to 14k, which is likely not getting reversed on the battle stage. So it's actually a really interesting effect, and sometimes just hoses people that aren't you know, playing smart and just kind of auto playing. The third effect on the card deals with a specific Alulu that we're not playing, so don't worry about that. But we have it at 1 copy. You have a bunch of ways to get it: combo, choices, brainstorm. So we've just kind of left it at 1. It's been pretty fine getting it when we want it. So that's the reason for that. Ratio choice. Next card is a free fresh counter. So 2/1 2500 counter that when you discard it for its backup, you can pay an additional 2 and put your waiting room into your deck and then shuffle. Just a good card. You know, if you were ever climax screwed, triple trigger, any of that, you're going to play that and you're going to reset your deck state. Just very good profile that you will play. The next card we have here is just a tech choice. You don't have to play this. We're playing it in case you are unable to get the choice. This just gives you options. It's an early play, 2 or less climaxes, so you can play it at level 2. It has experience 4, I believe. My wife never hits it, so I don't know off the top of my head. It has experience 4. Gains an additional 1k if so it sits at 10-5. Not a bad power line, particularly if you've got your back row. And then it's a dig X, so on play from hand you can dig up to X cards, where X is the number of characters on board at the time of play, so you can dig up to 5. Whether you're trying to get through your deck, look for something specific. Mainly playing this at level 3 if we don't have the choice for the finisher. And that's it. That's basically the reason why it is in the deck. Now, so this card is another tech choice that we're playing basically because it's Kana. But it has served some functions against certain decks. For example, Mushoku set up its whole board. I didn't have a choice. I played this, and I blew up the board. So what this does is, on play from hand, it gains an effect that says at the beginning of the attack phase, you can remove everything on the board except for the Kana. And then, if you do, when this card's damage is canceled, burn 3. It additionally has a line of text that says, on attack, you may discard 2 cards. If you do, burn 1. So, Mushoku had its whole board set up. I blew it up. I blew up like the 1 or 2 cards I had in play as well, my back row basically. I directed in for 3 or 4. I discarded 2, burned 1. He canceled the burn 1, took 3. Then he took the 3 or 4 and died. So, this is a Hail Mary, hit the panic button. I'm trying to get out of a bad situation and make my opponent also be in a bad situation card. That just sometimes gets there. So I've done the board blow up to great effect in 2 or 3 games. Otherwise, it's just another hit on the Toru and Soul Trigger for your choices. So now moving into the finisher, which is probably the reason why you're playing the deck in any sort of competitive sense, because unfortunately, Dragon Maid did not get a lot of the standard tech that we've been seeing in modern sets, but the Toru finisher is kind of busted. So it's an on-play heal from hand, and then with the choice, on attack, you can either A, burn one for free, or pay 2, discard 1, and burn any number. I have died to burn 7 from this card because my opponent's like, I gotta deal 7, like my last attack, burn 7, and I had, I think, like 3 or 4 out in like a fairly thick deck because I had tried to go off the turn previous, and I just died. Just casual burn 7, die. Yeah, card's nuts. Like I said, if you're playing this set competitively, you're playing it because of the Taru. Like, everything else in the set is just kind of basic or semi-lacking when we look at the current modern sets. But this finisher just wins games. Just wins games. There's nothing else I can say about that. Card very good. Last 2 cards we have in the deck are these 2 events. These are stock swaps. So when you play the event, your opponent takes all their stock, puts it into the graveyard, and then puts the same number from the top of their deck into their stock. And then you salvage a character. So the 2 costs is kind of unfortunate for that, and it being an event makes it a little hard to get. But sometimes you're playing against a compression deck, and you just hose them for 7 to 9 stock, and they lose the game because Toru comes out and burns them. So that's why we're playing that. You know, we have 2 copies because it's an event, hard to get, and is a hit for the top check Toru free stock. So that is the Dragon Maid deck we are playing. It's been a lot of fun playing with it. Being a set that doesn't have the standard tech choices made deck building a lot of fun, to be honest, and it plays in a way that doesn't feel like every other deck I have in my repertoire. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. It's good to be doing deck techs again. Hopefully we'll have these every couple of weeks. I have a whole bunch of new decks that I've been ironing out. We do have English tournaments coming up, so hopefully there will be some tournament reports, because we're actually going to travel for some of these. Shh, don't tell anybody. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video.